Hello, I'm Robin from the Lakes, and today is the Good News Reflection for Saturday, July 3rd. The theme of my reflection today is Dare to be Different for Jesus. Today we are reading in our chapter a day, we are reading in Acts chapter 16. The whole thing is really an account of Paul's second missionary trip to various places. And I invite you to read the whole thing, but for today, for my reflection, I'd like to concentrate on verses 29 through 34. By this time, Paul is in the city of Philippi, and he meets this woman who has the spirit of being able to tell the future. And she's just following along behind Paul and Silas, and he just gets tired of it. And he says, that's enough, get out of her, leave her alone. Well, the owners of this woman don't like it that Paul and Silas just took away their income. So they get pretty ticked off about it, and they put him in, and they send him to prison. So he has to go straight to prison, no passing go, no rights read, no phone call, none of that. He goes straight to prison. So now it is midnight. Paul and Silas are in prison, and they are, of all things, singing praises and worshiping God. And everybody in the prison is listening to this. Suddenly, all of a sudden, the prison starts to shake, and all of the chains are off, and all of the doors are open, and every single prisoner has the opportunity to escape. But here's the key. They don't leave, maybe because they are wanting to hear more about from Paul and Silas in their praising and worship. But that's where I want to pick up right now in verse 29. And it says, calling for lights. Oh, one more thing. The prisoner guard, or the jailer who is in charge of all of the prisoners, see that all the doors are open, and he's just about ready to kill himself because he knows that if his prisoners escape, that's the end of his life. And he's ready to kill himself. And Paul says, no, don't do that. We are all here. So this is where we start. Calling for lights, the jailer ran in, began to tremble, and fell down in front of Paul and Silas. Then leading them outside, he said to them, Men, what must I do to be saved? They said, Trust in the Lord, Yeshua, and you will be saved, you and your household. Whereupon they told him, and everyone in his household, the message about the Lord. Then, even at that late hour of the night, the jailer took them, washed off their wounds, and without delay, he and all his people were immersed, which means baptized. After that, he brought them up to his house and set food in front of them, and he and his entire household celebrating their having come to trust in God. You know, what really jumps out at me in this particular section was how many times Luke, who is the author of Acts, repeats that it's not just the jailer that hears, that it is his entire household and his people and everybody that he knows that hear the word of the Lord and become baptized and start following them. Now, what that means for me is that if I look at what Paul and Silas did, they dared to be different. First of all, they were in prison, and instead of complaining, they were singing praises, and they were worshiping God, and it impacted those around him. Then, when they all had an opportunity to escape and to have their freedom, they chose instead to be different and to stay. And this impacted the jailer and his entire household so much that they asked the questions, what must I do to be saved? So what does this mean for us today? Well, for me, I think it's never be afraid to be different for Jesus. Be different for Jesus and sing and worship, even if it doesn't feel good, even if it doesn't feel right at the moment, even if it's hard to sing and praise and worship. For me, it means doing the right thing, not just the right thing according to what the world would say, or what I may say, doing the godly thing, even if it's hard. But because we never know who's watching. We never know how those little different things that we do when we choose to love, when we choose to be kind, when we choose to praise and worship, even when it doesn't seem like we should be. We never know how it's going to impact our lives. And we never know when that seed that's being planted, or when somebody sees us and they're going to say, I want what he wants. I want what she wants. And they're going to ask and say, how can I get that? How can I be saved? So my encouragement to all of us is to dare to be different for Jesus. Don't be afraid to be different for Jesus, because it may mean the difference between eternal life for someone. This is Robin signing off from the lakes.